The Winter War, Priscilla Shirer and Gina Detweiler, Chapter 3, Battle Lines. After nearly half a day of marching, the army of Prince warriors arrived at the battlefield, which lay on the plain at the edge of the chasm. Before them lay the Bridge of Tears, the only bridge that spanned the endlessly deep chasm between Ahortos and Ponyros's kingdom of Skatos. The warriors stopped marching and formed into 3 sections. Evan and the rest of the wrecking crew ended up in the middle section directly in front of the bridge. Evan glanced at his brother, who looked pleased. Xavier wanted to be on the front line, leading the rest into battle. But Evan didn't like being so close to Skatos. The memory of his last visit there was still very raw, as if it only happened yesterday. That had only been their second time in Ahortos. They hadn't even gotten all their armor yet, and Ruach had sent them on a mission to rescue a prisoner who was held in Ponyros's fortress. That prisoner was Rook, a prince warrior who had gotten trapped by Ponyros's schemes. Evan still remembered the look on Rook's face when they had first seen him in the prison cell, chained up and half turned into metal. That was what Ponyros did to his prisoners. It was a terrible sight. Maybe if Ruach just got rid of that bridge, Ponyros wouldn't have a way to cross, he said aloud. Why doesn't he just get some dynamite or something and blow it up? That's what they do in all the movies. Blowing up the bridge would make the most sense strategically, said Manuel. I don't believe Ruach would even need dynamite. He must have a reason for leaving the bridge there, said Ivy. Maybe it's so prisoners in Skatos can still come back. Evan looked from Xavier, standing to his right, to the tall warrior standing on his left, the one whose foot he had stepped on. He reminded him a little of Rook, although this guy was much younger. Whenever Evan thought about Rook, a hard little lump formed in the middle of his throat and wouldn't go away. Like a cherry pit he had accidentally swallowed that got stuck. He had to fight to swallow that cherry pit all over again. I wish Rook were here, he murmured. Who is Rook? The tall warrior next to him looked down at him. Once again, Evan realized he could understand what the warrior had said. Oh, a friend, a prince warrior like us, but all grown up. He's dead. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm Collie, by the way. Collie? That's a cool name. I'm Evan. Where are you from? Finland. Really? Awesome. I have a friend named Finn. That's him down there, but I'm pretty sure he's not from Finland. Evan shivered. It is so cold. I don't remember it being this cold before. It is often this cold where I come from, said Collie. Man, I'm glad I don't live there, murmured Evan, too softly for Collie to hear. He fell silent, as did the entire line of prince warriors. There was no sound but the mournful breeze blowing a few brown leaves across the plain. This is kind of eerie, Brianna shivered. I agree. Something doesn't feel right, Manuel said. All we have to do is stand firm, Ivy said, although she sounded as if she was trying to convince herself, and stand together. Evan looked up and down the line of warriors. He felt reassured by how many there were. Certainly, such a great army could stand up to anything, couldn't it? Suddenly they saw movement, shapes emerging from the dense fog on the other side of the chasm, a long, unbroken line of forgers. They were Ponyros's slaves, massive metal soldiers with round red orbs for eyes and similar glowing orbs on their chests. Whispers and gasps swept down the line of warriors. The sight was truly terrifying. Forgers, Evan said. I hate those guys. There's got to be 1,000 of them, said Manuel. We've taken down forgers before them. It's not that hard, said Xavier. Remember, aim for that orb on their chest. It knocks them out of commission. Or cut off their heads, said Brianna. She nudged Levi, who stood beside her, as if waiting for him to make a snarky comment. But he didn't say anything. Come on, Levi, don't you want to cut off some forger heads? He looked at her and blinked. Oh, yeah, sure. So who starts this battle? Evan asked in a hushed tone. He looked around. Does someone have to say go or blow a whistle? Of course not, Xavier said, clicking his tongue in disgust. It's a battle, not a kickball game. Okay, so what are we waiting for? As if in answer to his question, a thunderous roar rose up from the other side of the chasm. In the next instant, the cold air was filled with blazing heat. The Olathron, the giant flaming arrows, burst forth from the dense fog. The warriors pulled their seeds from their pockets and raised them in their fist. The seed shields deployed, launching streams of tiny red lights that created force fields around them. The fiery arrows soon began smashing into the shields, instantly extinguished. Stand firm. The voice of Ruach echoed in their ears as the Olathron attack continued. Through the onslaught, the warriors could see that the forgers were now advancing to the bridge, preparing to cross. Here they come, Brianna whispered, her voice threaded with fear. They had not been in a full-scale battle since Rook died. That had been almost 2 years ago. The last time Ponyrose tried to take over their town of Cedar Creek and steal their armor. They always knew Ponyrose would eventually come up with some new way to try to destroy them. But since the Battle of Cedar Hill, things had been pretty quiet, and their visits to Hortas had been few and far between. Although they had tried to keep up their skills, they were all feeling a little rusty. Move forward as one, Ruach commanded. Sparks suddenly swooped down in front of the army to lead the charge. The Prince warriors stayed in close formation with shields deployed, marching toward the chasm under a storm of flaming arrows. The Forger army was moving as well, heading toward the bridge, using the Olathron attack as a cover for their advance. Ice crystals whipped against the shields of the warriors as they marched. Is it raining? Evan asked, looking up at the sky. More like sleet, said Manuel. The sleet worsened quickly, creating patches of ice under their feet. Several warriors almost lost their footing before their boots sprouted cleats to give them traction. The marching slowed. Hey, said Xavier, staring ahead at the Forger army. I think I see a way to stop them from crossing the bridge. We should stay in formation, Finn said. Ruach said to stand firm. Yeah, we do not want to go over here, said Ivy, especially in this weather. I'm staying here. Look, the bridge is narrow enough that we can push them back before they cross all the way over. Let's go. Xavier pulled his kris from his belt. The small, harmless-looking utensil suddenly lengthened into a long, shining sword. I don't know about this, said Manuel, looking at his breastplate, which had not illuminated. None of them were crazy about getting on that bridge. It could disappear, for one thing. It had done that before. And halfway across, its ivy-covered stone changed to treacherous metal girders. I think we should stay with the rest of the army. But Xavier was already running. brandishing his sword.